My useless old man, go home. I came to New York from San Francisco with my son, William, to attend the inauguration party for the new CEO. However, Jennifer, the chief secretary, told me this. I looked and saw her belongings piled on our seats, making it impossible to sit. What's with that rude tone? Is it okay for a secretary to speak like that? An angry William confronted Jennifer. However, the inauguration ceremony was about to begin. I couldn't afford to make a scene here. Understood. I tried to pull William back and leave. At that moment, a voice came from behind. It seems my grandson is not here. When we slowly turned around, we saw a familiar figure. Grandpa, William exclaimed happily. And then, the situation took an unexpected turn. My name is David Brown, 55 years old, and I've been working for Wilson Trading, a major trading company, for 30 years. I am currently a salesman at the branch office in San Francisco. The company's headquarters is in New York, and it was founded shortly after World War II. I was born during the economic boom, so I only heard about it from my grandfather. But back then, the metropolitan area was a wasteland due to air raids, and there wasn't even enough food. The streets were filled with war orphans, the sick, and the homeless, and it was said to be a hellish sight. The founder of Wilson Trading started his business dealing with the occupation forces, driven by a desire to rebuild the city and a fierce determination. As time passed, Wilson Trading became known as a major trading company. I have always been proud to work for such a historically significant company. I still have some time before retirement, but I want to dedicate myself fully to the company until the end. At such a time, the president who took over the business from the founder and had been at the helm since the late 80s was stepping down. The successor chosen was Margaret Wilson, the founder's daughter, currently 48 years old. She graduated at the top of her class from Harvard University and gained business experience by working for a renowned international company. After returning to the US, she assisted her father in management, but she got married at 30 and had children, focusing on her family life for about 20 years. It was a surprise to everyone that she suddenly decided to become the CEO. However, President Margaret had a natural talent for business, and those who had been with the company the longest knew of her skills. It is said that her advice helped the company navigate through the Great Recession after the bubble burst. There were many who lamented the time she spent away, wondering what might have been if she hadn't married and left the company. I am very humbled to be entrusted with the significant role of CEO after having spent many years dedicated to my family. However, I see this as an opportunity chosen by the times, and I am determined to propel Wilson Trading into a company that thrives in the new era. Let us work hard together. This was President Margaret's first greeting in the company newsletter. And today, I traveled from San Francisco to New York for the inauguration party of the new president. The luxurious hotel hosting the event was bustling with reporters and many guests. I headed straight to the reception, managed by the headquarters secretary department. David Brown, your name isn't on the list. Are you from the San Francisco branch? What's your position? The woman seemed slightly irritated, possibly due to the busy reception. I don't have a position. Also, my son will be accompanying me. I called my 18-year-old son, William, who was standing right behind me. What? The receptionist, whose nameplate read Jennifer, and chief secretary, looked displeased. I'm sorry, but I was told to bring my son along. When I said this, she frowned and looked at the list again. Then William, who had been standing quietly, pointed to the list and said, Isn't it on the last page? Jennifer replied, The last page is the VIP list. There's no way a regular employee's name would be there. However, when she turned to the last page of the list, she muttered in surprise, It is here. It must be a mistake. I'll have to complain to the General Affairs Department later during this busy time. She then handed us pass cases with neck straps and said, Put your business card in this and wear it around your neck. That young man probably doesn't have a business card, so it's okay. Well, If you want to pretend to be an adult and put your student ID in it, you can. Anyway, the line's backing up, so move along quickly. We took the pass cases and hurried away from the reception. The receptionist was really unpleasant. Her nameplate said she was the chief secretary. But is it okay to have someone like that in such a position? William, dressed in his school uniform, said, "It's the first time the company has held such a large-scale party for the inauguration of a new president. Everyone's a bit confused. They're trying to handle everything themselves. They should have hired event staff. You know she likes to do everything herself, right?" Just as I said that, someone bumped into me from behind, causing me to stumble. However, since the person who bumped into me was a woman, she was the one who ended up falling, scattering the documents she was holding. "Hey, are you okay?" I hurriedly extended my hand to help her, but I couldn't help but exclaim, "Ah!" It was Jennifer, the receptionist from earlier. "You two again. Stop getting in my way." We weren't intentionally trying to bother her, but it seemed like we just didn't get along. She snatched the documents that William had picked up and handed to her, then ran off. With that attitude, she'll never get married. William sighed and made a remark, which I scolded him for, saying, "Don't act so high and mighty." The time for the inauguration ceremony was drawing near, and the guests were starting to move to their assigned seats. We also began looking for our seats. "Hey, there it is, right in the front row." Saying that, William moved forward, but he looked puzzled. "What's wrong, William?" "It looks like someone's stuff is all over the place." When I looked, there were women's coats, documents, and other personal belongings piled up. "Maybe someone made a mistake. Is it okay if we move them?" Just as William reached out to touch the items, a voice called from behind, "Don't touch my stuff." Seeing the woman rushing over, William looked exasperated. "You again?" It was Jennifer, once again, standing in front of us. She rushed over with a desperate look and said something outrageous. "There's no way people without positions like you would have seats in the front row. It's obviously a mistake by General Affairs. Go talk to them and get your seats reassigned." But the ceremony is about to start. Jennifer then raised the corner of her mouth unnaturally and said, "My useless old man, go home." What's with that rude tone? Is it okay for a secretary to talk like that? William snapped at her attitude. A few people around us glanced over. Thinking it would be bad to cause a scene, I grabbed William's arm and replied, "Understood." What are you saying, Dad?" "But we are." I dragged William away as he resisted. At that moment, a familiar figure appeared. "It seems my grandson is not here." A voice came from behind. When we turned around, there stood the president. No, since the title has already been transferred to President Margaret, he is now the chairman. And he is also my father-in-law, Grandpa. Hearing his voice, William immediately ran to him. "What, Grandpa?" Jennifer asked in a confused tone, clearly bewildered by the chairman's sudden appearance and William's words. "Yes, I am the one who invited these two. Of course, my daughter Margaret is aware as well. I intend to introduce them during the ceremony, so they need to be here, Jennifer." Jennifer, her expression frozen, looked at us with a shocked face. "See, I told you to watch your rude tone. My dad is the CEO's husband," William said, looking back at Jennifer. I reprimanded him. "CEO's husband? There's no such term, William. And don't speak as if we're important. It's true that Margaret is remarkable, but I'm not important just because I'm her husband, and you're just a high school student." However, William showed no signs of remorse. "Even so, it doesn't give her the right to be rude to you. Does having no position mean an employee can be called useless?" "Useless? Did you say that?" The chairman looked at Jennifer. She shrank back completely and replied in a weak voice, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "No, Chairman, there were various circumstances leading up to this. She was also probably very stressed with sudden tasks. It just slipped out, and it's Margaret who created such a short-staffed situation, isn't it?" Just as I finished saying this, Margaret, who had heard the commotion, appeared. What on earth is everyone doing here together? The guests couldn't hide their surprise at seeing an all-star gathering before the ceremony. Moreover, people started taking photos. Seeing this, Margaret took the microphone. Everyone, thank you for gathering here today for this inauguration party. We are currently making preparations, so please wait a little longer. Watching her cheerfully greet the hundreds of guests, I felt she was truly the daughter of a CEO. She had an innate dignity and, above all, exuded a very glamorous atmosphere. Why did such a talented woman marry me and stay away from the company for 18 years? I recalled those days. It was 20 years ago. Back then, I was working at the headquarters, and I spoke to Margaret for the first time at a company's social gathering. Already standing out as the CEO's daughter, she was 30 years old. I was 37. I had always been a top salesman, but I had a habit of becoming tongue-tied around women, which is why I was still single and devoted to my work. Margaret was also not interested in marriage, and even boasted that she was married to the company. However, love is like a disease that blinds people, and once affected, all previous values can be overturned. That was the case for Margaret and me. When we decided to get married, we had William. I still remember when we went to report this to the CEO. Margaret had become an indispensable part of the company, and I was prepared for the worst, that we would be opposed and possibly even forced to break up. But the CEO's words were completely unexpected. I have always hoped for a man like you to come along. I thought a strong-willed woman like Margaret could only live through work, but you have given her another possibility. I wholeheartedly bless your marriage. I couldn't help but said repeatedly thank you to the CEO. Seeing this, Margaret also said repeatedly thank you to her father. I have just one request. I want you to join our family as an adopted son-in-law. This is also the founder's wish. I accepted his request. My family was an ordinary household with no family business to inherit, so becoming an adopted son-in-law wasn't an issue. In fact, my parents were overjoyed that I was joining a prominent family. However, due to my work as a salesman, changing my name would have been inconvenient, so I continue to use my maiden name, David. In the company, the transfer to the San Francisco branch was at my own request. It was suggested that I, as the CEO's son-in-law, should have some position, but I felt it was strange to get a high position just by marrying Margaret. Coincidentally, the San Francisco branch had just been established and needed salespeople, so I volunteered to go there. In fact, it was easier to work at the San Francisco branch where I didn't know anyone, and I liked San Francisco. The food was delicious, and the city had a lively atmosphere. I had always thought it would be fun to work in such an exciting city. So, I started a new life in San Francisco with my new family, and that's how it all began. Thanks to Margaret's quick thinking, we stepped back behind the stage. Immediately, Margaret started giving orders. What is this trouble? Today is the important inauguration ceremony. Jennifer shrank even more as Margaret pressed her. As I felt sorry for her, I tried to help by saying to Margaret, "She's overwhelmed. It's not fair to blame her like that." But Margaret didn't soften her stern expression. We had many meetings for this day, especially for my inauguration as the new president. This is a big day for the Secretary Department too. Ensuring the success of this ceremony is the mission of the Secretary Department. Do you understand? Yes. Jennifer's face turned completely pale as she answered weakly. Seeing this, William spoke up. This person didn't know who we were and spoke down to us several times. Isn't it a secretary's job to treat everyone politely, no matter who they are? Should someone like this really be the chief secretary? What William was saying was right, but there's a way to say things. It seems William has inherited Margaret's strong sense of justice and sometimes pushes people too hard. However, Margaret, being his parent, is naturally the stronger one. William, be quiet. You're still a student. Don't talk back to adults. With one word from her, William fell silent. Come on now, it's not good to argue on such a celebratory day, but William has grown up so well, just like my grandson. The chairman said, placing his hand on William's shoulder, who had been silenced by Margaret. "You're too soft on William, Dad. It's because he will eventually take over this company that he needs to be strictly disciplined. Lately, he thinks he's an adult and talks back a lot. I wish he would learn some humility like David." She looked at me and smiled. "If he takes after me, he won't become the head of the company. William is young, so this is fine. He'll settle down once he studies properly. Now, let's move on to the ceremony. We've kept everyone waiting long enough." When I said this to Margaret, she nodded. "You're right, as always." Seeing this, Jennifer let out a small gasp of surprise. President Margaret agreed instantly. "Impossible. Don't you know, Mom is head over heels for Dad. Even from a son's perspective, they're almost disgustingly in love. She decided to become the CEO because Dad told her she should. She really wanted to remain a homemaker." "No way. What's so great about this old guy?" Jennifer looked utterly shocked. "Jennifer, don't call David an old guy. He's my most beloved partner who understands me more than anyone. Strength comes from the support of love. If you understand that, take pride in the secretary department and support me. Now, let's go." "Yeah." Jennifer straightened up at Margaret's words. She must admire Margaret and work in the secretary department because of that. Margaret has always been a popular figure among female employees as a cool female boss. Even in this era where women's advancement in society is becoming normal, women's positions in society are still not equal to men's. I believe Margaret can be a beacon of hope for women who struggle and suffer behind the scenes in society. That's why I urged her to become the president. After that, the inauguration ceremony for the new president went smoothly. The media extensively covered her unusual transition from housewife to CEO. And the emergence of a new female president for the next generation was highlighted in the economic world. She even appeared on TV, and her confident demeanor in front of the camera was comparable to that of an actress. Margaret should definitely be in the spotlight. She doesn't look out of place at all next to celebrities, right, William? I said to William while watching a show featuring Margaret in the living room. Recently, she's been busy with her CEO duties and media appearances, so she can't come home often. William and I have been sharing the responsibilities of cooking dinner and doing household chores. I hate it. It's embarrassing. At school, everyone keeps talking about Mom. What? Are they saying bad things? I asked, suddenly worried. No, the girls are all excited. She's really popular. Somehow, I'm popular too, and they asked to take pictures with me. Well, that's a good thing. Enjoy the attention from the girls while you can. No, I don't care about that stuff, William said, fiddling with his smartphone. Actually, since then, William has been exchanging messages with Jennifer, the chief secretary. Margaret thought it would be good for him to start building relationships within the company since he would be joining after graduating from college. So they started communicating. Since Jennifer found out William would be joining the company and for years, she's really stepped up her game. She used to be a bit unreliable. I think they might end up having a pretty good relationship. Margaret said to me during a phone call. Like us? I replied. Yes, like us. We both laughed together. Thank you, David. I can stand here as the CEO because of you. No matter how much talent or skill I have, I couldn't have become someone beloved by everyone. It's because of the 20 years I've had with you that I am who I am today. Hearing those words, I vowed to continue supporting her from behind the scenes as her husband. After that, the company expanded beyond the trading industry, diversifying into various businesses in line with the times, and eventually passed on to William's generation. I worked at the branch office until my retirement, then left the company and built a house in a more rural area. It's a home for just Margaret and me. Every day, I wait there, leisurely tending to the garden. Someday, when she is finally free from her big responsibilities and comes back, I plan to greet her with a simple, "Welcome home,"